Well, TGIF, thanks for choosing CN2 News on this Friday. Hello, I'm Lucas McFadden. We begin our newscast in York with breaking racial barriers through kindness. The Wright Funeral Home on Liberty Street in York is the first African-American funeral home in the town's history, dating back 100 years. Well, the funeral home director sadly passed away early this week and will be laid to rest on Saturday. CN2's Caroline Fountain painting a picture of the legacy he's leaving behind.
A funeral home director, friend, and father, Isaac Wright Jr. was all these and more.
My father was truly magnificent, and I know that a lot of people don't get to say that about their parent.
Bridget Wright, Isaac's daughter, growing up in her father's footsteps of service to the community, now serving as a York judge.
It feels natural to me. It's what life is supposed to be like. It's how you're supposed to live, and so those are some of the greatest life lessons that I've learned from my dad.
The Wright family has deep roots in York's history. Isaac's great-grandmother living on Brattonsville Plantation, his grandparents starting a grocery store, and the first African-American funeral home in town.
We are actually standing now on the grounds of what was originally the Wright grocery store. We could not have an address on Liberty Street. Only whites could live on the street. When we built the funeral home here, we were able for the first time to have an address, 301 East Liberty Street.
Isaac Wright Jr. breaking the barrier, building the family's second funeral home here on Liberty Street.
There's going to be a lot more to see. I've got a lot to live up to, and I hope that I show my dad and the community that he's trained me well.
Living up to a long legacy of service in York, Caroline Fountain, CN2 News.
Isaac Wright Jr. was the fourth one in his family to own and run the Wright Funeral Home. It will now be in the hands of his daughter, Bridget. Isaac leaves behind 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Funeral services for Isaac Wright Jr. are set for Saturday at 2 o'clock at the Wesley United Methodist Church there in York.